All right, so let's do a little recap from last week. So last week we met at the Worthy Cafe. We had good conversations about delighting ourselves in the Lord. And then after that, we surrendered, just everything that we needed to get off of our chest and everything just to go on our shift, to start our shift. So now we have made it to the base of Mount Worthy. And this is where the shift begins. This is where today we are actually going to step on that mountain of Mount Worthy, and we are going to go up that mountain to the very top. And I'm going to be honest with you guys, the shift, it is the hardest part of this whole Shift Worthy experience because first off, it's going to be uncomfortable. You're not going to be comfortable. It's not going to be convenient for you. It might be hard. You might have a bunch of tears. You might have those moments where you're just like, I'm done. Like, I just want to give up. And you know what? Maybe for some of you, sadly, that's where you might stay. You might remain there. But I want to tell you guys not to. It gets hard. It gets messy. But each one of us, God has each unique plan for every single one of us. We're all created different. We all have different kingdom assignments that are attached to our lives, and He has to grow us and shape us all in different ways. So my experience up Mount Worthy might not be your experience at Mount Worthy. The Jesus that I meet up Mount Worthy might not be the Jesus that you meet up Mount Worthy. And let me explain that first, because there is only one Jesus. That's it. But I'm saying maybe up your shift, you need to meet Jesus the healer. Maybe there's just something that you need healing in your life. He needs to mend that broken heart, or maybe it's something physical. So maybe you're going to meet Jesus the healer up your shift, and that's going to take over your heart. And maybe for me, maybe I need to meet Jesus the Good Shepherd. Maybe I have just been lost and distracted for so long that I just need to focus and remain on Jesus and just watch Him and just let Him help me lead and guide me up Mount Worthy, just following His lead. So that's what I mean when we don't know what kind of version we're going to meet of Jesus, if that makes any sense whatsoever. But before, I want to talk about kingdom confidence, because that is important in our shift. That is what we need, and that's especially what we need to start building here before we step on the mountain. But I want to take you guys into a little story of mine, something that happened to me, and maybe this can help you guys on your shift. So let's do that. All right, now it is story time with Jessica. So this happened to me yesterday, but let me take you back to the summer of 2026. I have been needing to get my tires rotated, and I don't like going to the tire place. I don't like messing with that stuff. I don't like to get oil changes. Maybe it's just a girl thing. I don't like it. I feel uncomfortable. I feel out of place. So I would procrastinate, but you know what? There was a couple days in the summer where I was like, I'm just gonna go and do this, get it done. So I would drive my car into the tire parking lot of a tire place, and then it would be full. I'm like, okay, you know what? It's not my time, because there's not a parking spot for me, right? So then I came back home, and then I had people tell me, they're like, hey, Jessica, did you know that you can actually make an appointment to get your tires rotated? That way it meets your schedule. That way you can go whenever you plan to go, right? And I was just like, no, I don't want to do that. For some reason, that was giving me anxiety. I don't know why. That seems like the easy way out. But you know what? It was yesterday. This was so inconvenient. This was so uncomfortable for me. I was tired. I've had a long, busy week, and I just wanted to get an iced Americano, and I just wanted to go home and just breathe and just relax, because we have those weeks. But I really felt inside like it's time to go to the tire place. It's time to get your tires rotated. So I was like, okay, I was praying and I was like, okay, God, if there's a parking spot, then I'll pull in and I'll go into the tire place and I will get my tires done. So I drove to the tire store and you know what? There was a parking spot. It was a nice parking spot too. So I pulled in to that parking spot. And you know what? Faith is a lot like that. Like Jesus isn't just like, hey, I'm going to wait for everything to just match up to your perfect schedule, your color-coded schedule, and I am going to schedule you, a time at the tire store or whatever. No, it's really the inconvenient times. It's when we're tired, when we're like frustrated, when it's just like God is like, give me another chance. Like, let's take this faith move. Let's do it right now. So maybe there's something in your life that you have prayed for, like over and over and over again. Like you've met at the Worthy Cafe with your friends. They pumped you up. You have got encouraged. And then God's like, this is your faith move right here, right now. I want you to step up onto the base of Mount Worthy. And I want you to look up that mountain because it's time to shift. It's time to shift. Like I have the parking spot laid out for you. Your car is going to be right here. So that's like, it's a lot like a faith move that God was showing me. But to make it even more of a faith move, what I had to do was I had to open my car door and I had to get out of the car and then I had to walk into that tire shop. And I did that, and I did that with kingdom confidence. So I was walking up there, I was like, this is happening, You just like it, so you're just like, this is my time. Like you just know it. You feel that stirring like inside of you. So I walked up there. I met with a really nice man. And then what he did was he asked me, hey, what is going on with your car? And all this kind of stuff. And I was like, I just need to get my tires rotated. And then I told him, I was like, you know what? And also like my tires have not been holding air like they should. So he's like, well, let me have a check. So then he goes out to my car outside. He checks everything. And then he looks at my 2 front tires and he could just tell that those were the tires that were not producing air like they should. And then he's like, you might have to get 2 new tires. And I was like, okay. And then he's like, come on back inside. Let me show you this diagram and let me explain to you what is going on with your tires. So what the nice man did, he brought me inside. I looked at the diagram and then he was telling me all this stuff. And I was like, yeah, you're right. Like, I should get my 2 new tires like right now. I should really do this thing. And I had that peace inside. So I was like, okay, let's do it. And then I told him, I was like, but I don't know if I can do it today because I don't have my tire card on me. And he's like, well, hey, you know what? Let me look it up in my system because I bet you're in the system because you've came here before. So did all that kind of stuff. Looked me up in his system, got my tires, and I was ready. This is the part in your God move wherever God has called you by faith. Like you've already gotten the parking lot, you're good, you get out the door. Like you can't just stay in the car and you just can't stay in your place of prayer because now you actually have that opportunity. You have that blessing waiting for you on the other side. So you have to open that door, walk in with kingdom confidence. And you know what? Sometimes when you get in the door, it's a little uncomfortable. It's a little scary. You're just like, I don't feel like I belong here. Like, this is way too much for me because there's a bunch of people everywhere and there's all these big tires and it's uncomfortable, especially if you're me and you're a girl. Like it's not our comfort place, but God meets us in that place, like I just picture it like God is that man, the nice man that was helping me out. Like he made me feel comfortable. I had to keep my eyes on him the whole entire time as he was walking me through, as he was explaining everything to me, as he was showing me that diagram of, you know what, Jessica, like you used to be over here, your tires can only carry you so far. Like your kingdom assignment for right now can only carry you so far. But you know what? I have a new kingdom assignment for you. But we have to step into the new. We have to kind of get uncomfortable, which is our shift. And, then we can actually get to that new place where, you get the keys to your car and, hey, like, we're going on a new kingdom assignment. So now it's time to surrender. It's time to make that faith move even more. It's time to give the guy my keys. Actually forgot to do that. He's like, can I have your keys? And I'm like, oh yeah, you might need those, right? So I handed my keys over and he's like, you can just wait anywhere in this room that you would like. So I found a little cozy spot by the window, and then there's like a window where you could watch, you could like see inside the bay area of them fixing the cars and the tires and all that stuff that goes on, and I was like, cool, this is my spot. And as I was in the waiting room, there was water, complimentary water, there was a coffee machine, and there were just a bunch of people around me. And then a bunch of people that were actually like, they would come out the door, the tire guys, and be like, blah, 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 Bob, your car is ready. So it gave me like hope. It's like, yes, like, look at this. I have coffee, I have water, like I have a good spot by the window, I can see what's going on, and Bob is getting his car. So you know what? That gives me hope that I'm gonna get my car soon. So super exciting, right? This is the part on your shift, like you're at the very bottom, and it's just kind of like that exciting thing. Like, even like when you first start to wait for something, it's exciting because you're just like, I was kind of like, oh, I'm getting new tires, I'm getting a new car. Like, it just felt like a new car experience, right? And then I was just seeing other people get their like keys to their cars, and it's just like, yes. And there was coffee. I didn't have the coffee because I wanted to wait for my Americano to be very special, but it's just exciting. So that might be where you are, because last week we surrendered on our shift, and now we're at the spot where it's just kind of like exciting. Like, what is God going to do in this whole entire process? So now in my story, I got there at 2:30, and I just kept looking at my watch, and I was just like, okay, it's 2:30, we're good. And then it started to be like 3 o'clock, and I was like, okay, this is cool, like we're still good. Then it started to get to 3:30, and I was like, ugh, I've been here an hour. So I was like, let me start checking like my text messages from earlier in the day and get back to people. And then I was like, after that, I'm just gonna get the Bible app going, and I'm just gonna read the Bible. And I did all that kind of stuff for a while. My eyeballs got tired because I couldn't look at the screen anymore. And then I looked back at my watch, and I was like, oh, now it says it's 4:30. Like, I have been waiting for a long time now. So this is the exact moment on the shift after we've been waiting like forever, it feels like, and trying to like do all these things. We're just like, I want to quit. And I'm going to be honest, most of us, we do quit. We don't get to experience the beauty of going up Mount Worthy, like at this point in the waiting room, what I could have done was I could have just went back up to that counter and been like, hey, can I just have my keys back, because this wait is taking too long. So I could have taken my keys, and then I could have got back in my car and then drove away with my 2 worn out tires, and who knows what would have happened to me. I could have just basically gone back to my past, gone back to what I've always like rolled with my whole entire life, and I could just remain there. And then something worse could just come along. My tire could pop, or I don't know, the things that tires do, like it could have been bad. So this is the part where we want to give up. But you know what? We are not going to give up. We are going to stay in that way. We are going to stay in the shift, even when it's comfortable, even when our prayers, like they feel like they've just been hitting the ceiling, bouncing back at us like 5,000 times. You're like, when, God? When is there going to be a breakthrough? But you know what? There will be a breakthrough. And you know what? Like, all we need to do in this shift is we need to remain in Jesus. We just need to look at him the whole entire time. Don't look at those distractions. of waiting, or that thinking that the enemy is going to put into your brain and just be like, you know what, like, you're going to go back there. Like, you should just go back to the old because it's more comfortable. No, we're going to stay faithful. And we are going to keep treading up that mountain as long as it takes, because it's going to be in God's time and in God's season. And eventually we are going to get there. So we're not giving up. All right, guys, now it is 5:15 in my story. And guess what? I actually see my car leave that parking spot and go into the Bay Area. Now I'm sitting by the window and I can actually see my car. Like, I can see the tire guys like putting on new tires, like getting the little lug nut thingies off. I'm not good with cars, but doing all the stuff they have to do, like going through the maintenance. And then this part of the shift can be hard too, because this is kind of where God is like plucking and pruning you. You know, he's like reshaping you. He's making you like into a better version of yourself. He's making you more like him. He's taking you up a journey. I don't know what he's trying to do in your journey. Maybe he's showing you Jesus the lover, you know? So he's mending your heart so that you can receive Jesus the lover. Maybe it's Jesus the healer. Maybe it's Jesus the provider. Whatever it is, like, he's doing something. And then maybe you can see it. It's finally happening. It does hurt, but you know what? I can see it. I see my car. I see the new that God is giving me. But you know what? You're still waiting, and it's still hard, and you're just like, oh, like, when am I gonna get my car? And then 5:30 rolls around, and you're still waiting there. And then 5:35 rolls around. You know what? You're still waiting there, but you can see it, you know? But you feel that. You're just like, I'm ready. I'm so ready. Can this like hurt? Like the tearing off the tires and everything, just stop. But you know what? Then it's 5:40 and you're still waiting. This is also that part in the shift where the enemy is really going to get into your mind, because you can actually see this thing. Like, you can actually see what God is doing, and you can actually like feel it. You can feel that tearing apart, and he is going to start planting those thoughts in your head like, this is never going to happen for you. You're still going to be rolling on those old tires your whole entire life. Like, what makes you think that God is really going to do a brand new thing? Like, why have you been praising him this whole time? Because you're going to be in the exact same situation that you've always been in. And in this time, what you really need to do is you need to flip that kingdom confidence in on whatever it is. And you need to get in your word. You need to dig in your word. This is where kingdom confidence, right here, this is where it comes from. It comes from the word. It comes from the Bible right here. You need to open it up. You need to speak out scripture with your mouth. There's life and death in the power of the tongue. And you need to tell the enemy what's up. You need to tell him, you know what? I believe in Revelation it says that you lose. Like, goodbye, you know? You just got to speak those things. You got to get bold, because you know what? God is doing a new thing. You can see it. You just got to keep that faith, and you have to just remain in him. Keep your eyes locked on Jesus. Don't look at the distractions. Look at Jesus. Keep your eyeballs in your word. Speak it out. That is your kingdom confidence. Guess what? 5:45 rolls around, and I am sitting in that window, and I see this gentleman open the door, and he goes, Jessica, and I was like, it's my time. So I basically leaped up out of my seat, and then he went to explain to me everything that they did with my car. They said, it looks great. We put on the 2 new tires. You don't have any nails or anything in those other tires, and you were all set to go. And then he's like, just go meet us in the front, and we will bring you the keys to your car. So I was excited. I was like, it's my time. So I went to the front of the tire spot outside, and I was waiting, and that nice gentleman that took care of me at the very beginning, like, he said, he walked by me, he goes, Jessica, I hope you have a good afternoon. That made me feel special, guys, because he knew my name. It's like he knew all the stuff that, like, I was going through. We can count that like he was the analogy of like God in this story. Like he knew all the mess, all the junk I was going through. Like he had his perfect time when the parking spot was going to open, when I would walk into that store, when he would show me that diagram and tell me you're getting new tires, and then take me through the process of getting new tires, like up that shift, like he knew all the time. And so that made me feel special. But you know what? I was still sitting out there for maybe like standing out there for like 4 minutes after, he passed by. And still, I did not see my car pull up. I thought it was going to be like in a snap of a finger. No, I was probably waiting like 4 extra minutes. But I believe that God gives us that silence right there before we enter onto not worthy, just because he's just preparing our heart. Like he knows the pruning and the plucking and everything that has happened on that shift. He knows how uncomfortable, how inconvenient it was, but he is just preparing our hearts. He's preparing our heart to just get soft, so we're ready to receive that gift when it is time. And you know what? After I waited about my 4 minutes, and there comes my car rolling up, and I can see it. And then the man jumps out of my car and he hands me my car keys, and here are your car keys. So basically he's saying, here's your next assignment. You got the 2 new tires. You are ready. You are stepping into something new. So then I could drive off and I could go and get my iced Americano. And the thing is right here, when we drive off, we just have to keep going forward. We don't need to look back at our past. Like we have the rear view mirrors and everything, and if we look back and we glance, like sure, that's okay time to time, as long as we're remembering like all the beautiful things that Jesus has done for us, like on this shift part. It's so beautiful, but we can't stay there, because if you guys go back to Genesis, remember Lot's wife, when she kept looking back, like she turned into a pillar of salt, and we're not going to turn into a pillar of salt. We're just going to keep moving forward, keep remaining, keep our eyes locked on Jesus the whole entire time. We're going to go get our Americano. This is empty, but we're going to go get that to pump us up. We're going to celebrate, and then after that, we're going to go over the edge, and we have that assignment. And, I can't promise you that your new assignment that God gives you is going to be easy, because there's always going to be challenges throughout the whole entire thing, like throughout life, right? But you know what? He's gracious. He loves us, and we just have to remain on him, just still keep our eyes locked on him with our new assignment, and celebrate what he's done and what he's going to do. So just keep moving forward with Jesus on this shift. Eventually, guys, we are going to meet Mount Worthy, and that's where we get the car keys, So eventually we're going to get there. So just hang on in the shift. And I know it's hard. And I also want to say, in the shift part too, you can always, I picture a coffee shop wherever you need it. You can go back to the Worthy Cafe and you can go meet with maybe new people in a season. You can meet with Jesus at the coffee shop. He's always at the coffee shop. He's on your shift, like he's everywhere. And you can just get that motivation and that encouragement to go back to your shift so you don't quit and you don't give up. So that's our shift, guys. We're going to do this. It's going to be hard. It's going to be messy, but you know what? We are going to get through it. We're going to get those keys and move on to our next assignment or whatever God has in store for us. All right, as I'm holding my empty coffee cup, I just want to tell you guys to go check out part 1 over at Shift Worthy Fit, where we're just going to dig into the Word and see really what it looks like whenever we delight ourselves in the Lord and He gives us those desires of our heart. So maybe you'll find out what kind of desires and everything like God is going to give you on your shift. But right now, remember, we're shifting, we are ready. Kingdom confidence is in our Word, and we're going to speak it out of our mouth. But you guys go have a great shift. I am here at the Worthy Cafe if you need me. And also, don't forget to join the Kingdom Shifters It is my email squad, my email list where I send out motivation to you guys weekly. And then I also have some little freebies that I'm giving you guys throughout this journey. So go sign up for that and go watch part 1 of the video on Shift-Worthy Fit. And I will see you guys next week. And hopefully we'll have a full cup of coffee by then.